morning friends, and welcome to another video. Today I am going to be talking about a little bit about my 2022 reading, not goals, I lost the word, a little bit about what I read in 2022 and talk about some of my 2023 sort of reading goals. I can't remember if I've mentioned this, I'm trying to wake my computer up, on this channel before, but I don't typically have a very strict TBR just because I'm very much a mood reader, and a lot of times if I tell myself, oh, I'm going to read this book, I immediately don't want to read that book. So this is more of a general, I would like to read these books this year if I get around to it and if I'm in the mood for it. But first, in 2022, and I am planning to have a blog post up on my blog by the time this video goes live, and it's going to have a full list of all of the books that I read in 2022, as well as a few fun facts, if you will. I'm going to talk about a few of those trivia facts here, but not all of them, so I will have a link to that in the description box down below. But in 2022 I read 164 books. The most read author was Patricia Wentworth. She was a new discovery for me in 2022, and actually I read all of her books in January, February of 2022, and then I reread a bunch of them in November and December. So overall I reread 70 books out of that 164. And then my favorite reads for the year were Latter End by Patricia Wentworth, In the Balance by Patricia Wentworth, Jubal Sackett by Louis L'Amour, The Unexpected Mrs. Polifax by Dorothy Gilman, Miss Bunkle's Book by D.E. Stevenson, and Weekend at Thwackley by Alan Melville. Overall, I had a really lovely reading year. There were a couple of months, August, I think I only read about 4 books, but that was when my baby was born, so makes sense. But yeah, it was a really good reading year. I ended up reading a lot more books than I expected to be able to, because I ended up, I read a ton of books on my Kindle and my iPad after the baby was born whenever I was nursing, because usually I would try and, I knit and craft a lot, but when you're breastfeeding a baby, you don't have both hands. So I was able to do a lot of like holding the baby with one arm and reading with the other one. So I was able to read quite a few books at the end of the year. Actually in November was my highest read month, and I read 22 books in that month. So September, October, November, December, let me add this up really quick. I read 66 books in the last 4 months of the year. So it ended up like once the baby was born, I read quite a bit. Yeah. So that was my 2022 reading year. For 2023, I'm off to a fantastic start. I've already read quite a few books. I don't have my phone with me that has the whole list. I keep track of the books that I've read in the notes app on my phone. That's ended up being the best way. I used to do it where I would keep it in a little notebook, but the problem is that most of the time I don't always have that notebook with me, and especially since I'm reading a lot more books as ebooks, I definitely don't always have a notebook with me. And so I'll forget to write things down, whereas when I keep it in the notes app on my phone, I can just pull my phone out, punch it in there, put the date that I finished reading it and the author and whatnot, and I'm good to go. So I recommend that. That's been the best way for me. I've been doing that for the last 3 years now. Before that I had it all in a notebook. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and it's been nice because I can just kind of copy all of those notes of all of the books that I've read into a Google Doc, and then I can open that up on my computer. And you might go, well, why don't you just keep it in a Google Doc in the first place? On your phone, it's not, or at least on the phone that I have a Pixel 3a, I think is the one that I have, and when you open Google Docs, it opens up like a couple different things, whereas with the Notes app, I think it's technically called Google Keep, I don't know. It's the Notes app in my head. When you open that, it just immediately opens right up, so it's just easier. But anyway, that's a bunny trail. To start off, let me move some yarn here. I've got to film a knitting podcast episode later today, so I'm collecting some stuff. I have never read the whole series of Anne of Green Gables. I read the first two, I think Anne of Green Gables and then Anne of Avonlea, and I think the third one is Anne of the Island. I'm not super familiar with this series, so I don't remember exactly what order the books go in. Anne of the Island was the one that stuck me because when I was younger, when I was reading these, I couldn't stand the letter writing format. It drove me nuts. And so I never finished the book and then never finished the series. Now that I'm a lot older, I actually really, really enjoy the letter writing format of a book. Some of my favorite books have that. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society book is that style. And there's another one that I read more recently. I don't remember what it was called, but either like the letter style or a journal style book. I've grown to really enjoy the 2 or 3 that I've read. So I have a feeling that going back through the series, I won't mind it at all. But I have this beautiful collection. I have the whole set of these gorgeously illustrated copies, and I'll insert a little video here. I'm not going to get them because they're on the tippy top of my bookshelf, so I took a little video clip. I would like to read that whole series. I was going to try and do it last year, but it just, again, didn't happen, and I wasn't too worried about it. And part of that was because, particularly at the end of the last year, I had a really hard time reading physical books because I have a baby, and holding a baby and trying to hold a physical book at the same time are really difficult. And particularly right now, he's about 6 months old now, or almost 6 months old. He's very grabby and he likes to smack and grab at things. So it makes it really difficult to read a physical book because he's just like, but I know that he's also getting older, and like now he's actually napping. I mean, it's pretty early in the morning. It's 8:20. So he's finishing up his early morning nap, and then he'll probably get up anytime now. And but he's just in the last couple of weeks really started napping by himself, which means that I am thus going to have a lot more free time, and I think I'll be able to read more physical books, which, to be honest, I've missed it. I really have. I really enjoy, like, this is an old Kindle of my husband's that I've basically commandeered my own. And I've really enjoyed at least being able to read, but I have so missed reading physical books. I've noticed that there seems to be a lot more, not quite eye strain, but I would say like brain fatigue after reading a book, because I did a ton of reading on my iPad, and I'm trying to get back to doing it on the Kindle because I was doing it on my iPad because, oh goodness. This is the first time I've really talked all morning, so. I was doing it on my iPad because what would happen is I was nursing the baby in the middle of the night, and the Kindle that I have does not have a backlight, and so I needed a backlight, so I would do it on my iPad. And then I would already be reading a book on my iPad, and I didn't want to like transfer it over to the Kindle and have to try and find my spot again. But now that the baby's getting older, he's not nursing as often during the night, because at that point I was probably up and feeding him like somewhere between 4 and 5 times in the middle of the night, and now it's maybe once. And so I'm not really reading in the middle of the night anymore, and so using a Kindle is fine. But reading so many books on the iPad, I noticed that it just seems to make my brain tireder, and I really want to get back to reading actual physical books so much. So that's one of the things I really want to try and do, is read the entire series of Anne of Green Gables. I've heard so many people talking about it, and so many people talking about how beautiful and wonderful the romance between Anne and Gilbert is, and I have watched the, what was it, made in the 80s? It's the only Anne of Green Gables movies that I really acknowledge. I know a lot of people really love the Anne with an E series. I've never watched it. I don't really intend to. I'm not going to say I never will because, you know, maybe one day I will. But I don't like it when they take beautiful old classic stories and try and modernize them a little bit. I love the Sullivan Productions Anne of Green Gables with Megan Fellows. The Anne of Green Gables and Anne of Avonlea. Oh, the music, the scenery, everything about it is beautiful, and I've been really wanting to rewatch it. So maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll make it a reward if I read through the whole series. Then I'll pay the money to purchase the Anne of Green Gables movies and watch them. But anyway, so there's that one. And then the next book that I would love to read this year, I purchased this gorgeous copy of Middlemarch when I was on vacation with my husband's family in September of 2021. And I had been really wanting to get a copy of Middlemarch because I've watched the period drama. I think it's a miniseries. I can't remember now off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it's a miniseries with Rufus Sewell. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, and I don't remember the actresses' names, but I really like that miniseries. It's so lovely, and so after I watched that, I really wanted to read the book, and so I purchased this gorgeous copy. Oh, I love it so much, and it has like, I think it's. My husband doesn't like it when it has like the kind of rough papers. I love it. It's sort of reminiscent of back in the day when they had to actually like cut the pages open when you got a new book, which is just amazing. And so I've been meaning to read this since I purchased it, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I was thinking what I might end up trying to do is just set a goal of read. Oh, I haven't even looked at that. Oh, look at that. I might set a goal to try and read like one chapter a day for a while, and then work my way through it that way, because it is an older book, and older books, the way that they're written and whatnot, they usually do take a little bit more brain energy and a little bit more, or not brain energy, they usually take a little more attention to get through them. But I do so love old books. And even that more in-depth writing style is just lovely. So I really like to read this one. And then the last one is actually a series of books that I didn't realize was a series for the longest time. And it was actually one of my childhood favorite book series, or the first like 4 books in the series. I didn't realize there was a whole other like 7, 8. It's the Betsy Tacy Tibb series by Maud Hart Lovelace. I think we had the first 4 books, and I loved those as a little girl. They were amazing. They were some of my favorite books, and I didn't realize until much later. I think it was when I found, again, I have another little video clip I'll insert here of those books. I think I found like 5, 6, 7, 8, I can't remember. I'm missing 1 or 2 of the further on books in the series, but I found a bunch of them at either the library, a used bookstore, or a thrift store. I can't remember which one it was, but I found it, and I was astounded because I had no idea that there were more books in that series. And I watch Miranda Mills, she has a YouTube channel, and she has talked about how the Betsy series, basically, Betsy Ross, I think it is one of the loveliest series that she's read, and she said it was very reminiscent of sort of an American Anne of Green Gables type. I don't think they're at all similar, but just it's in the same vein. A story about a young girl growing up, and it goes all the way from when she's, I think the first book starts when she's 5, and then it goes all the way up until she gets married, and I think into her first year of marriage. And I would love to read that series this year. I have had those books for probably a couple years now and just have not gotten around to reading them. So like I said, I don't have a super strict TBR list that I want to read, but there are a few books that I would love to read. And I was thinking it might be fun to make a blog post or a separate video talking about a bunch of the books that I own that I would like to read at some point. But these are the ones that I really want to try to get to this year. Just because I've wanted to read them for so long, and I think that they're just going to be lovely, cozy things to read this year. And again, like I said, I think I am going to be able to read more physical books this year, and I would love to get back into that. But those are all the books that I am hoping to get to this year. I'm so excited for these next several months. We're in the middle of winter now. It's January, and I don't love wintertime, so I'm very much looking forward to spring. But it's definitely still the cozy season. I can drink plenty of tea, and hopefully as baby Tan gets a bit older and naps a bit more on his own, I can snuggle up with a cup of tea and a good book and read away. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope that you all are having a wonderful January so far. If there are any book series or books that you've been meaning to read for absolutely ages, I would love to hear about it. If you like this video, feel free to like it and subscribe. I'm hoping to do a few more bookish videos this year. We'll see if I can make that happen. But yeah, I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!